You're listening to the What's Happening podcast with Gary Watts.
Good afternoon, everyone. I'm here with Phil O'Brien with Urban Acres. He's also the president of the Iowa City Board of Realtors. Phil, how are you?
I'm doing great, Gary. How about yourself?
What do we do? I was going to say January, but it's 1st of February.
Yep.
And it's 52 degrees and sunny.
You know, Iowa is, and you don't know what's coming next either, right? Because it
might snow tomorrow.
Yeah, that's right. It's always an unsure event.
I went for a jog this afternoon. I thought, man, it's just nice. Don't get used to it because it's Iowa. Yeah. So let's talk real estate today. I mean, I usually don't, even though I've been in the business a while. But I think it's kind of exciting to have you here as a board representative, as a president of the board. And let's talk about how'd you get started? Where do you come from? And just enlighten us if people don't know who in the world is Phil O'Brien.
Sure, most people don't.
Okay, well let's get to know you.
So, I'm originally from Illinois.
Okay.
I grew up mostly in my dad was an engineer in the 70s, so we moved all around a lot: Pennsylvania, North Dakota, New York.
What type of engineer?
He was civil engineer.
Civil, okay.
Yeah.
So land planner type?
He did a little bit of that. Sorry, mechanical. I apologize.
Mechanical.
Yeah.
Okay.
So he did a lot of like when Abbott's did their a couple new research centers. He helped with that, like for and he would always complain about OSHA. So that's what I hear.
Unnecessary evil.
Yeah, exactly. But Gurnee mostly is where I grew up. And then
where's that?
Gurney's up by Six Flags Great America, North Burbs, like North Burbs.
Okay.
Closer to Wisconsin than Chicago, but good place. But I came to Iowa City in the 90s and just kind of fell in love with it.
University of Iowa or what?
University of Iowa, yeah. Came to Iowa City. Well, I wasn't in college yet. I graduated early when I was 17. Not because I was smart, just because my birthday's in November. So I want to clarify that. So I took a year off, tried to go to community college, didn't work. I knew I had to get out and do something.
Of
Gurnee,
Illinois.
Yeah, Illinois area. And so came here to visit a friend, and it just clicked.
That was it, huh?
That was it. I was like,
you know how many people tell me that?
Yeah, it's
just about everybody does.
There's I hate to sound corny, but there's a magic about the town.
And you interview a doctor, it's like looking at a house. And hey, Iowa, we're coming to Iowa. Let's say you're at USC. And you come from California. First of all, where's Iowa? Uh-huh. And I travel a lot. And I try to make them guess, where am I from?
Yeah.
You know, Midwest. Let's see. 4-letter word. You know, warm.
Exactly.
Ohio.
Yeah.
And then it goes to Ohio. It goes to Idaho to potatoes. Then it goes to Hawaii. I go, stop, Iowa. Yeah. Oh, Iowa. Yeah. What are you known for? Yeah. But it's funny, once they get here, and what a great atmosphere, what a great real estate market, what a great place to raise a family. Just what can you not say that's amazing about this area?
No, and I hear people complain about the traffic, but I've lived all over this country. I mean, I lived in California, and you want to talk traffic.
Have you driven in Chicago in rush hour?
Exactly. So, no, if you can get anywhere pretty much in 20 minutes, it's big enough that you get a lot of great takes on life. You get a lot of good restaurants, a lot of good business. Right. Small enough that you're safe. It's a good community. People know each other.
Right.
There's that accountability there. But yeah, so I came here in the 90s, went to school, immediately enrolled. Once I visited my friend, went back, enrolled, moved over to Iowa City, and was here until like 2000, and then graduated right around 2000. And at that point, my girlfriend, who's not my wife, but we were like, well, if we're going to do something, we got to do it now. And we visited some.
What a close.
What's that?
That's your first close, right?
Yeah.
You closed her.
That's right. Yeah, exactly. But we visited some friends in Davis, California, over winter break, Christmas break, and we decided let's go. So we packed the car up, everything we could fit in my Plymouth Neon. It wasn't even a Dodge Neon; it was a Plymouth Neon. And we drove out to California, knowing that we had a place to land. And on the way out, I didn't know what we were going to do. Like, we kind of figured we'd find a job or something like that, but it was really kind of not planned out. On the way, a good friend from college actually called me and said, "Hey, are you looking for a job in California?" I said, "Yeah, I'm moving out there right now." And he got me a job in the IT world. Now, I graduated with English, but I've always been kind of a geek and nerd. Like, I love messing around with computers and building computers. And so moved out there, settled down, had a job working for a subsidiary of Dell Computers. So a company, if you order 10,000 computers, you don't just drop them off. Like, you have a project manager, they do the install for schools, government agencies, whatever. And so I was just hustling, breaking down boxes, setting up computers, and trying to make a living. And fortunately, what I didn't know is that I was working next to the vice president of the company, because it was just a tight crew of guys just doing stuff. And he pulled me aside like about a month in, and it's like, hey, you're showing up early, staying late, you're hustling. Do you want to be a regional manager?
Say that again for the young people listening. You showed up early. Yeah. And you stayed late. Isn't that amazing?
It's
I don't care what generation you're in. It's true, isn't it?
It's very true. I think people don't think the boss notices.
Right.
But the boss notices.
You bet he does.
Yeah. And
or she does. I shouldn't say he.
He or she.
I'm going to get in trouble.
No.
The boss is.
We're good. I'm not holding you there, Gary.
Yeah.
But they do notice, and it speaks volumes, and it's not instant, right? Like now, 30 days is actually a quick turnaround typically, but people are always looking for that kind of instant, like rocket to stardom, but it takes some time. But
why did you come in early and stay late?
Oh, my dad.
I kind of taught you that, huh?
It's in my dad, my grandfather. He was a carpenter, a house builder in Long Island.
Oh, he was.
Yeah.
It's interesting.
But I remember working. A little side tangent here, and I'm sorry if we.
No,
okay.
What's fun about this?
Yeah, it's kind of good. I was working 2 jobs over the summer when I was in high school, and one of them was like basically picking up garbage at a forest preserve, cleaning out outhouses, picking up garbage, and then I'd do that from 5 in the morning to about 1 in the afternoon, and then I'd go work. My dad worked for a kind of a local home builder, and he had a subdivision. And I would just go there and do whatever, dig holes, help clean up sites, all that. And I remember one day I got there, it was like 1, worked to about 3 or 4, and I'm like, all right, I'm heading home. And my pops turned to me and he was like, well, if you want to put in a half day's work, that's just fine. And I'm like, looks like I'm staying.
Yeah.
And so
stuck with you.
Yeah, it did. Yeah. So
I've said this story before, but I helped make fence with my uncle when I was a kid. I spent 2 weeks on the farm when I was a kid, 9 or 10 or 11, and we were building fence. I don't know. Have you ever built fence?
Kinda.
Yeah. So it's not the most fun thing in the world, but nor was cutting thistles or baling hay or rogan corn. But anyway, so my uncle Glenn was out in the field and he had the posts in already. They were already dug in, and that's when you dug them by hand. Mm-hmm. And he was stringing wire, and I was running the wire out. Then he had a stretcher where he'd put a round, like, I don't know what you call it. I call it a hook or a nail that secured the fence, and then he'd tighten it.
Like an eye hook or something?
Yeah. And then he'd tighten the fence with anyways, kind of a little. And I'd string the fence out, and then one time I was watching him. I just stood behind him, and I was watching him tighten it. And I'll never forget, he looked up and he goes, "What are you doing?" And I go, "Well, Uncle Glenn, I'm watching you tighten fence." He goes, "What should you be doing?" He said, "The next 2 posts don't have wire. You need..."
Yeah.
So his point was, while you're standing here, you should be ahead of me so we can just keep going. And I was basically wasting time, not accomplishing anything. And that taught me that. And I just listened to Christy Noam, who I think is the, Homeland Security Director now. And she goes out in the field. And she had a similar story of her dad, what he taught her as a little girl, of how to be ahead of, because she come from a farm background, ranching background in South Dakota. And the same story I've got. It was just kind of, I'm a little older than her, but it's just funny if you've ever been around farmers, they got a lot going on, and I've met any of them that just sit around.
No.
Most of them are busy doing something.
My father-in-law's a farmer. So, they've got land up in up northeast Iowa there by Decorah.
Really?
And
I have a farm up there. Where are they at?
They're in Austin.
Oh, yeah, I know where that is.
So
I have a farm near Elgin.
Okay, perfect.
Yeah, the driftless area.
Yeah, that's right.
Beautiful.
It's
beautiful
rolling. It's beautiful.
Yeah. It's just south of Decorah.
Yeah, and it's a good area. You still get the finger wave off the steering wheel,
right?
So, but yeah, it's a beautiful farm up there. It's funny because I didn't know. I went up there for one of the first times to meet him, and I was staying there at the farm.
Were you nervous?
Oh, of course. Yeah. It's a generation farm.
Yeah.
And Al's a good guy. He's my father-in-law, but he's been great ever since I met him. So
good.
yeah, but he
salt of the earth, right?
Well, and farm strong.
Yeah.
Oh, geez, that means something. When you're throwing hay around and you're working the farm, there's something about that.
There is something about
There's
that.
no gym involved there.
Yeah, they may not be standing in a mirror lifting weights, but they're strong.
Yeah, exactly.
Because they work.
Yeah.
They work every day.
Big guys. That was the one thing that was pretty intimidating. But yeah, they're great farm up there, but mostly my dad. Like he taught me, and again, my family and everything, but just working. And I mean, I've seen him stitch himself up on a job site using needle and thread, and you can't show any pain when they're doing that.
That's not easy.
Yeah.
So then how did you, let's talk about back to the University of Iowa.
Yeah.
Then real estate. Let's go there.
So went out to California, did the IT thing for a while, eventually I was kind of the head of all educational governmental contracts for this one company. But we were out there for about 6 years and realized that if we're gonna like plant roots, like this is either we have to buy a house here or we've got to move back, and we looked at a couple different places.
Who was your realtor?
When I moved back, Pete Bachman.
Pete Bachman,
Pete,
yeah.
So
He
you
was
don't
with
do anything
Glasgow.
stupid.
Glasgow back then, wasn't he?
No, he
Duncan Matheson?
was Colo Banker.
Okay, Coldwell Banker, okay. Say, I'm dating myself. I'm going to these old names.
Yeah. He even covered my earnest money.
Really?
Yeah, because
cool.
I didn't have my checkbook because I flew from California. Well, so when we were looking to get back, at that time I was actually helping people open up natural food stores. And I segued, long story, but segued into that. And then when I was moving back, I Googled natural food stores, Iowa City. And this is when Bob Tate was moving here to open up Tate's Natural Foods. And I literally just called 411 for the kids. For the kids that don't know that, you used to be able to call a number and get someone's number. So I called Bob Tate.
Don't tell anybody, I still do it. Once in a while.
Yeah.
Because I can't Google it.
Yeah, just still around. But called Bob at his house and said, hey, I just read an article in the Gazette that you're opening this. This is what I do for a living. What do you think? And he's like, well, I need somebody. Flew me out. 2 weeks later, I had bought a house and getting ready to move.
Cool.
So we came out here. My wife wasn't with me at the time, which is a little nerve-wracking when you're buying a house. But
Where'd you buy?
Over on the east side. Still live in the same house I bought.
Okay.
We've done extensive remodeling to it, but it's still the same place. And we moved pretty quickly. Moved back here, and then I'm helping Bob Tate open up this store. And it's in the plaza. It's now the Bread Garden for people that don't know. But the Bread Garden downtown was opened up as Tate's Natural Foods.
The one that Mondo has, the Bread Garden?
Exactly. And
great store, by the way.
Great store.
Great.
I wish the formula could have got figured out, but I had left about a year into it. I realized I didn't want to keep working paycheck to paycheck, and I didn't want to be working for anyone other than myself at that point. And I talked to Pete Bachman, had lunch with him. And I said, I'd like to get into real estate. How can I do this? What would you recommend? And I wanted to work for somebody. I didn't want to feel like I can go out on my own and jump into it. And it was also 2007, so we had the big crash with the market, and I thought the timing was perfect because, agents that were basically not doing a lot and getting paid a lot of money for it because it was an easy market prior to that. We're going to have to start working a little harder. And I'm like, okay, I can keep up with that. And then second, I mean, you want to get in on the ground floor, right? You don't want to be at the top of the crest, and then have it come down. You want to head up with it. So I'm like, this is a good chance. I'm seeing everything reset. And I wanted to take a stab at it. So I met with Pete Bachman, and he kind of gave me some names and numbers, got a couple names and interviewed, got my license, did everything, and got into real estate in 2007.
So if somebody's thinking about a real estate career, would you recommend that they get with being an assistant to start out with before they dive in?
I think so. Because I look at other, this is interesting to look at kind of how our industry operates, but I look at other industries like you don't just become an electrician, right?
Right.
You gotta be an apprentice, journeyman, master electrician. So
Right.
I think that in any career, you want to find what someone's doing well and train from that, learn from that. And that's the best, that sets you up for success later on.
Medical school, what's that, 5 years? Then residencies are 3 to 4 to 5. So
Oh yeah, you're in 10 to 12. And if you do like a fellowship or something after that,
before they let you be on your own.
But what is it, 10,000 hours to be an expert, they say?
I think so.
Yeah.
Well, look at a pilot. I don't think you just go out and fly.
Yeah.
your assistant to the, you're
Exactly.
in the cockpit. But, so I think that makes sense.
Yeah, so I would recommend that for a younger person if
Okay.
you're getting in, because while the 72 hours is great,
Right.
it teaches you a lot of the ins and
Basics.
the basics and
Right.
the law and stuff like
Right.
that, but it doesn't tell you how to operate in the real world.
Right. Well, there's a lot of things to learn in the law, because I think a lot of people don't understand how much law we're involved with.
No,
We're not lawyers by any chance,
Nope.
but
no stretch of the
there's a
imagination.
lot of law there involved in what we do, and getting signatures and dates and times and accountability of it. There's a lot, initials, there's a lot of things that you have to check and make sure you're paying attention to it. So I think the education thing is very important, especially to expose people to it, to know that you're gonna call on that once in a while. Now, the actual day-to-day, you're right, selling and listing real estate's a little different animal. You got to be around people that are doing it.
Yeah.
I remember I was in a seminar when I first started way back when, and I think I remember the guy's name, Howard Brinton. Have you ever heard of the name Howard Brinton?
No.
This dates me way back. He's probably, well, I don't know how old he is now. probably a lot older than I am. And I remember sitting in a CRS class, and I think it was up in the front row up there. I don't know what I was doing in the front row. Usually in the back row.
Yeah.
So I'm sitting up there, and he walks into class. He was really funny, but he'd already been a broker for, 15, 20 years, top producer, had companies, and he just decided to get back and teach, which I think that's cool.
Yeah.
Because there's so many people that could really help the real estate industry if they just come back and give back and teach. Because I don't think he was doing it for the money. He had a lot of fun with it. So he's sitting in the class, he looks at everybody, and he walks up to the guy next to him. He says, "Give me your wallet." And it's kind of funny. The guy reached out and threw it up on his desk, and Brenton took it and kind of walked out and came back, and we're all like going, "This is weird."
Yeah.
And I'm like, "I thought we were in a real estate class." He said,
You just got robbed.
and he said, "How did I get his wallet?" And I'm like, "You asked for it." Oh,
There it
can you
is.
believe that?
The magic
And,
formula.
and it was like it stuck with me the rest of my life. You just got to ask.
Yeah. It's-
Now, you may not always get it,
Well, you might not like the answer,
Right.
but you got to ask.
but you ask. And that's what's when I see a lot of real estate folks is they're afraid to ask for the order, not the good ones, because if you set it up right, the order just comes.
Exactly.
So anyway,
Well,
we're in a training class here, but I always remembered that in a training class.
And I always look at it too, like when I'm talking to young people about real estate, getting into the career, I think as an industry as a whole, we need to reframe. We're not really in sales. People think when I introduce you sell real estate. I'm like, there's nothing I can tell a person to convince them to buy a $700,000 write a $700,000 check. Now, what I can do is help procure, research, give you the data of the market, negotiate, get the contract to close, inspections, all like that I can do. Yeah, I can facilitate all of that and represent my client at the same time, but I'm not selling them anything.
Talk to somebody. I'm going to sell my own, or I'm going to buy. Talk about the paperwork that they may or may not understand. I don't think they have a clue of a radon test, inspections, who to call, appraisers, how they're picked, what lenders have this product. What
if a judgment comes up on the title work?
Yeah. What do you do if somebody doesn't want to sign a deed, or it's child support, or dower and courtesy rights? There's lots of stuff that goes on other than just showing a house. I think a lot of people today, I could be wrong, but looking at Zillow or Realtor.com, and they rule down to 3 houses, and why do I need a real estate agent?
Yeah.
Well, that's just the start of it.
The data might be available, but if you don't know how to interpret the data, or if you're relying on somebody who you don't know if they're an expert, you don't know if the person that just wrote that online article or who's on YouTube's an expert, but I can point to almost 20 years of doing well in real estate to go, yeah, I've 10,000 hours plus some.
Right.
And it's key. And when something goes, I always tell people, like when you're buying a house, this isn't a toaster. You can't take it back in 90 days to target. Yeah. So you need to do your work up front and know you're working with an expert to help you do that. So
we've both been blessed. We've been here in the real estate market in Johnson County, maybe a little bit of Lynn too, but Iowa City, Coralville, Tiffin, North Liberty. Tell the listening audience what that means to you to be involved in the real estate community here in Iowa City, Coralville, North Liberty, Tiffin. What's that market like?
Well, the market, I do think we do have a little bit of an insulation here, like from the national market. I look back at 2007, like I mentioned before, and you saw some massive 20, 30% declines on the coasts, I would talk to friends that still lived in California, and unfortunately, one of my good friends bought 2 houses to flip right before the crash, and that didn't go well. But here, all I saw was that I just had more property to show. The value still held. We saw some sellers being a little more aggressive. Great, because you have more supply. But we didn't see that huge decline at all.
No, not a sharp decline.
No.
It may have been stable. Maybe it didn't go up.
No.
Maybe a titch under, but it depends on the condition of it. But it sharpened everybody up.
It did.
If you're going to put your house on the market, you better be sharp. You better clean it up. Make sure it's ready to go. Make sure it's priced right.
Yeah. Well, the pricing is always, like I tell people, when you're listing your house, it's kind of like you're having a grand opening of a store. You're opening up a grocery store. You have the grand opening. If people walk through those aisles and your prices are off just by a little bit, they're higher than all your competition, or they're not dialed in. Yeah. It doesn't matter how many sales you run after that.
Right.
You're not getting that core group of people that just came through. You're not getting back through the doors.
Right.
So be precise when you list.
But not only do we have a great real estate market, I think we have a lot of product. Probably not enough product because it's nationwide. We're a shortage of housing in rental and housing. But as far as Iowa City, we do have townhouses. We have really good condominium projects. We have co-ops that went fairly well. Yeah. And then we got tremendous housing projects with, if you want in the country, you get acre lots, you come in town, close to schools. Our school system's amazing, if not fantastic, state of the art. We got new schools. We got pretty much grade schools are all over the place. Yeah. We're very transient population, so we got the docs and the research scientists coming in and out of town all the time.
Every 3-4 years.
It's a steady market. You're right. It's not going to zip up 20% one year, maybe 2, 3, 4, but you can kind of count on that over 20, 30, 40 years.
Can.
So what better market could you have? And then look what happened Sunday. Caitlin Clarkson, Carver Hawkeye.
Wasn't that great?
I mean, you can't. I almost tear up thinking about it. And they retired jersey. There's 15,000 fans screaming and hollering. I don't care if you're a boy or a girl or whatever you are. Yeah. Look what she's done for women's athletics. I think all athletics, by the way. Women's
I would agree with you 100%.
And she's such an ambassador to Iowa.
Yeah.
I got a chance to have dinner with her at a party once. We had a group over at a group of us had the basketball team last year in. And here's a cool story about Caitlin. I got off on Caitlin. We were talking about real estate, but she's I sat down and she came in later, and before that I asked Lisa if she could sign some basketballs for my grandkids, my granddaughter. She goes, sure. And I thought maybe Caitlin would come in, maybe she'd sign it, whatever. And I thought, everybody'd signed, and here comes Caitlin. Would you mind saying, oh no, I'd love to. And I thought maybe she might take half the basketball on Caitlin. Yeah. She signed about a half inch, just like the other kids. That's she's just such a classic. And the first one up to, hey guys, you want pictures with us and the team was Caitlin. Yeah. And and I had Martin, sweetheart. They're all classy people. And I told Lisa, it's so proud to be an Iowan because you guys, your team and you represent Iowa. Yeah. At its finest, I think. And so to see that, and you have that right across the street, kind of. We can just all ride our bikes over the Carver Hawkeye.
You have access.
Kinnick Stadium. What better on a Saturday afternoon is watching a football game?
Well, and the ice cream.
Yeah. Well, the ice cream at the Carver Hawkeye and the popcorn. Of course, I can't stop at that, and I have to have a hot dog too.
That's true.
But that, and then look at wrestling. Penn State kind of took it to us, but hey, we're right there with them. Dan Gable's. I mean, there isn't anywhere. It used to be always Dan Gable. So you're Iowa, it's wrestler. Now it's Caitlin Clark. Do you know Caitlin Clark?
Yeah, exactly. Everyone.
Are you aware?
Retiring the jersey? Yeah. No, and not to mention smart. Like you see a lot of star athletes get to a certain point, and there's making what you make for your paycheck in the league, but there's also endorsements, and you see a lot of people. They go up through the ranks real quick, and then the money's gone. Right. She's been very calculated and very smart with what she's doing and how she's building her name, her image, the image, everything. Yeah.
Starts out the presentation. She just gave 22,000 back to her four favorite charities when she was a student here. Yeah. And I think it was North Liberty Pantry. I don't know, all of them, Children's Hospital, and whatever. It's like that's how she started out. Just gave money back. I mean, it's just just so thrilled to even see her and listen to her talk.
It's amazing. She's a generational player, and it's
her and Michael Jordan. I don't know who's going to beat those two.
I'm just excited to see where it goes and how and how I'm really hope this does change the whole dynamic for women's sports and because for the long if you put butts in the seats, you generate more revenue. That revenue can get passed. So hopefully that's something that changes the whole league.
What little girl doesn't want to play basketball at Iowa?
Oh, I know.
Any of them.
Yeah.
who I would say little boys too. After
Yeah.
watch where, and then go out and shoot from where they painted it. What was it, 40 feet, 35?
Are you kidding
I
me?
don't know if I could throw a tennis ball that far. Or a
I can't
baseball.
even do a layup.
Yeah, and she's knocking them down from there, and that's where she made her
Consistently.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, anyway. So let's go back to real estate.
Sure.
So we're in a great area. What else could somebody young? What should they be thinking about if they do want to get into a real estate career?
I think, get your basis down, get your classes, find somebody that's going to help coach you, like I mentioned before. And when I got in, I didn't have a lot of money, but I did have a little bit put aside, knowing that, because the last thing you want to do is feel like you need to really make that sale.
You got to have it.
Yeah, because it shows, and so I had a little bit set aside, so I wasn't worried about that. I did land I did get a good position for an assistant with a top producer in the area. That helped out a lot. So it took a little bit of the pressure off. So I think a lot of times people get in because they want to make a name for themselves, but you can't have a name until you know what you're doing. And I think it's important that's where the learning from someone who's doing it well, and you don't have to reinvent the wheel. You just have to learn how to drive the car. And so it was good. So we got in. So I think for someone young, have a little bit, set aside, plan for some lean years, but you have to work. You remember, anyone back in the day, we were doing 6 open houses a weekend, 3 on Saturday, 3 on Sunday. And it's because it's your only storefront. No one walks into a real estate company off the street and goes, I need someone to buy a house. They're going to the houses. Right. That's your storefront. So be prepared to put the time in. And
so what would that look like? Is it somebody wanted 40 hours a week? Would you say don't get into real estate?
No. If you're working for even if you're an assistant to someone, an associate, something, you're still working for yourself. You're going to have some guidelines and you're going to have some expectations, but you're the one that sets the fire. Getting into real estate, I remember my wife was like, well, what about the security of a 9-to-5? And I said, I could work for a company for 20 years, 9 to 5, and they could lay me off in a day. I'm going to bet on me, and hopefully that pays off. But I'm going to have to put the hours in and setting. I think this is crucial, especially if you're in a relationship. Setting good guidelines with your partner of going, work-life balance. People, I don't know why that's a thing. But it is. But you have to be realistic that you're going into this, and that work-life balance is probably going to be a little bit skewed. You got to have a supporting partner. You got to have a supporting partner.
Big time.
You have to let them know that, I'll be there for the major things, but if it's Saturday afternoon and we might have a plan for dinner that night, and my client finally gets back to me, especially early on, you're going to have to take that call.
Nights and weekends.
Usually,
still is, I think.
Oh yeah,
still is.
Yeah.
So, tell us a little bit about Urban Acres. I know you're with the Urban Acres firm.
Yeah, Urban Acres.
Tell us a little bit about that system. I know it's been highly successful and got a great group of brokers there. So,
yeah,
can you tell us a little bit about that?
Sure. Urban Acres. We kind of founded ourselves on more of a cooperative structure. So we wanted everyone who's an agent there to be an owner as well. Okay. So we wanted everyone to have a seat at the table, decision making, and also have people that already are established. It's kind of a safer bet, but they already have their, because we don't want to, the owners don't need to make money off the company. The owners, and I say owners and agents kind of, as back and forth is the same, but they don't need to make money off the company. They already have established business. So we get the benefit of pooling those resources and doing some amazing things for the community. Cool. We did that one year when gas was almost $5 a gallon. We took $5,000 and split it up and went to 4 gas stations and filled people's gas.
That's
and
cool.
We did that off of a whim. So because we can do that for the community. And it was just great. Being involved, it kind of doubled down. I was already doing certain things, and a lot of the owners, agents there were doing things, but then we could collectively do it and invest back.
So it's a 100% concept and you share overhead.
Yeah, exactly. That's exactly.
That's a neat way to do it. So anyway, it's been highly successful, and
yeah,
and I always do a lot of good business with you guys. So appreciate it.
Well, we have we have good agents.
Let's go back to I'm going to talk a little bit about. I think you and I don't know if you're aware, has an undergraduate program in real estate. Still does.
Mm-hmm.
And I've talked to the professor. I think he's retired now, but I think you can get a 4-year degree in real estate. So if people are listening and they're in high school or looking for a college, check out UNI. They do have a real estate program up there. It's amazing. Most of the people that graduate are CCIMs. In other words, they're commercial brokers.
And that carries a lot of weight. The CCIM carries a lot of weight.
Because that's like, the way I see it is it's very hard to get. It takes a lot of practice. I mean, I think now you have to have a certain amount of real estate transactions to even qualify for CC, not just the testing, but the testing is very difficult.
Yeah.
And you get into cap rates and internal rate of returns and more the investment side of it. It may not quite be, how to show a home or whatnot, but fantastic degree. I think another thing I'd tell real estate agents is there's all kinds of really, really good classes, CRS classes, CRB classes, Certified Residential Specialist, Certified Residential Broker. This Ninja program, I know a lot of people have been involved in that on how to sell and list.
I think Rule and Rule has that as kind of a.
I think Skogman might. I don't know. I could, but they're practical ways to get a business plan, and I think that's neat for somebody when they're exploring real estate to have some kind of a business plan.
Sure.
To get into business is intriguing to me. To be successful at it, I think you need to treat it as a business. I think you need to have a certain amount of money you set aside to have a decent car, a respectable car, a clean car. You're carrying your own insurance. You are self-employed.
Yep.
And then further invest in your education and further invest on how you can get better. Further invest in how to promote yourself.
Yeah.
I think as opposed to when you start most businesses, way back when, if you're going to do a McDonald's, I don't know what a franchise is anymore, but I'm guessing
it ain't cheap.
I'd hate to guess, but $2 or $3 million. It's a lot of money. So let's say you're going to flip burgers. First thing you got to do is spend a bunch of money on franchise. That's basically you're buying a real estate leasing back, or maybe McDonald's. I don't know all.
I think McDonald's is one of the largest landowners in the world.
Yeah. It wasn't burgers. It was Ray Kroc. It was more. He got some investment bankers that owned the real estate, leased back the operators. But anyway, they. There's a ton of money you had to put out. Then you got overhead and you got employees. So imagine your first day. So in real estate, I don't know, is it $2 or $3 grand to get in? Probably,
give or take, yeah.
So it isn't a whole lot. So a lot of people, may look at that differently than a business. But if you treat it as a business, and you're constantly trying to get better, not that you have to have a better car, but if you invest back into it, you start to accumulate some real estate, buying real estate. I think that's a goal of most real estate agents, I think, around here.
I would think so, yeah.
And it just becomes, in time, an incredible career.
Well, it's something you can build on as well. And there's so many facets. I mean, there's farmland, there's commercial, there's residential, and even within those, there's new construction within residential. Yeah. There's a lot of different aspects that you could take to specialize in. I've been fortunate enough, when I first got into real estate, I did some pretty good commercial deals right out of the gate because of people that I knew from the industry prior, and then did residential at the same time. So I was able to feel comfortable advising commercial clients and residential clients. I think the true commercial, like you said, the CCIM. If you're not getting into the heavy hitters club unless you have that CCIM. If you're looking at ground for Walgreens or for national franchises, they want to see that education behind it. Right. But that's just still one facet of this umbrella of real estate. But I also would want to tell people getting in, be yourself. You see a lot of personalities online and social media, and I think a lot of people may look at that and go, well, that's how I have to be successful. But you just have to be yourself. You have to be genuine. You have to be, you have to, if you want to get involved with the community, pick a cause that you're actually involved in and interested in. Don't just sign up for 5 different things. Pick and that being true to yourself and being genuine to who you are is going to show through and allow people to approach you.
All right, that's a good point. It's a good point. So as far as inventory today, if you were an agent in Johnson County, are we short inventory?
I think I think right now, I don't think it's drastic, but I do think we're behind the curve. I think isn't it if you include
20%, 15%?
Well, but if you include condos, townhouses, and single family, you're looking at, it's 41% of our market new construction. It's pretty high.
Yeah, it's incredible.
And so, but we're still building. We're still, you know this more than anybody, but we're still building, but we're still kind of just behind that. But it's keeping prices. I don't see the same in like the 2021 where people were paying $30,000-$40,000 over list. I don't see that anymore.
Because of 3% interest or whatever.
Yeah, the 3 is gone.
Now it's 6.5, 7.
Yeah, exactly.
Where do you see that though? Over time, if you look at the last 50 years, that's a great interest rate.
6 or 3?
6.5.
Yeah, no. If we could get into the 5s, that'd be phenomenal.
Yeah.
Like we were spoiled on free money,
Right.
for a very long time, and if and it was kept low too. If we were allowed those rates to come up on a more natural, trend, then I think we wouldn't have seen the jump, the big spike from 3 to like 6.5. It would have been much more gradual.
Right. Yeah. I wish it come down a little faster, but the Fed last week just left it alone because of inflation, tariffs. I don't totally understand all that economic data, but
I don't.
I wish they, if you're going to have affordable housing, which is a buzzword, you've got to have lower rates, and housing has got to be somewhat more affordable to build.
Yes.
And I don't know if that's more subsidies from the cities, the counties, putting in roads, TIFs, whatever has to happen. But that's a hard one to come up with.
It is difficult. But I want to plug the Housing Trust Fund of Johnson County. That's a great organization where a lot of people, like cities and federal money, state money, will go into that. And if you're looking to do a project that's affordable, if you're looking for, if you want to hit something that's 80, 50, 30% median income levels, check that out, because there's great programs there that help people get involved in affordable housing projects to allow people a home at an affordable price. So,
as president of the Board of Realtors, obviously we had a lawsuit that was thrown at us last summer, I think, and settled.
Yes.
And to me, just my 2 cents, it's opened up a lot of transparency. But how do you see that? And how would you talk to the real estate community about that, and to the public, of what happened since that lawsuit?
Sure. No, I think it reinforced. I think we've always had good agents have always been transparent,
right?
But I think it now reinforces like what the conversations we need to be having with our clients,
right?
And truly, and I've always explained from the get-go how commissions break down to sellers and buyers, and I wish the world ran on hugs and sunshine. It doesn't. Everyone deserves to get paid for what they do, and so this is just reinforces it. Solidifies the practices for all agents to make sure they're having those conversations with their clients and going, hey, we're an open book.
Right. Disclose it up front. Tell them, here's how you get paid. Everybody gets paid somehow. There's always overhead.
Yeah.
They have to understand. If you tell them, and then they know they're either fine or not. And most people are fine the way I see it. I haven't had any issues.
Well, and and the buyer contract is a great way. I mean, it works for us as well, because it vets our clients.
Right.
Because if someone's going, I'm willing to be in this with you and sign a contract to prove it, then that person's there to to be your client.
They're loyal, yeah.
Loyal.
You got it figured in right off the bat. So
yes.
I think that's a good thing. So what else can you tell us about the board? What are you up to? What are your goals for 2025? Who's on the board with you, if you want to disclose those folks? Just tell us a little bit about board of directors here.
Well,
what you do.
The board of directors, again, we're here to kind of work with the association to make sure that we're giving out we're there for the members.
Right.
Mike Van Dyke's treasurer.
He's next door. I don't know if he's listening or not.
Well, he's a fantastic treasurer. We didn't want him to leave, and he did. So
he's probably got some knowledge there.
He does.
Over the years.
And he's great to have on the executive team and chat with. But this year, I really want to see something. I want to really focus back on education. And I want to see a way to make sure that we're giving out affordable, if not free, education to all of our membership, because it always starts there.
Right.
A lot of times, what's the biggest thing you hear when someone makes a mistake? I didn't know.
Right.
And so let's move beyond that. Let's get people back in the classroom, and if we can incentivize that too, then I think that would be great. Yeah. So that's one big thing I want to work on this year.
And we have a huge talent locally. Adam Pretorius is the best.
Yeah.
His new construction, his thoughts on building a business. I mean, I've heard them all. They're fantastic.
He's sharp. He's very sharp. He knows his stuff.
Yeah.
It's tough to have a conversation because I feel like I don't know. I'm like, this guy's way smarter than I am.
No, he's just a great talent, and he gives back.
Yes.
He's that's another thing I think you're seeing in Johnson County. The real estate community gives back, not only to the community, to other realtors.
Yeah.
And I think that's important that you want to educate the young folks. And even if it's old birds, we can always learn something. I think that's great. So to wrap up today, and anything else you want to talk about, but the way I usually like to close is talk about three things in your life.
Sure.
Your hero, a hardship, and a highlight. So
Okay.
you can take them in any order, give it
Yeah.
some thought. But who in your life do you think's been your hero?
I would probably say this is kind of off. My grandmother, my grandma Barb.
Okay.
She's been a hero in my life because she's always been someone I can look to. She lived out in Long Island. My grandfather, he was the builder. He was a builder, carpenter.
Yeah.
But she was someone I could always look to, and she wasn't trying. She wasn't trying to. But it's funny. There's three things that I always remember, and she's still with us. She's amazing, quick.
Good.
She lives in Lancaster. But three things that she's always talked about. One, phrases that always stick with me. You live your life in Plan B. Better have a good one. Let's see. Your world may get smaller when you get older, but that just means the little things mean more, and it's a perspective that you should always have.
That's good.
Like, she's like, I don't travel like I used to.
Right.
I've got my garden, I've got quilts, I got classes I take, but everything's so much more meaningful. So the perspective of that always sticks with me. And third, we had family that was involved in like New York Harbor, and like there was sand and gravel and all this other stuff. And she said, Phil, you don't get tugboats on the river if you don't know someone. Talking about the Hudson moving things up and down.
Yeah.
And it's true. You need to know people. You need to be genuine with them because you don't know when they're going to be able to give, help you out along the way. So
I'd like to meet her because she should write a book.
she's a classy lady.
just that's really good advice.
Yeah.
So what about a highlight?
Highlight, I think opening Urban Acres was a highlight. I mean, I think that it was a good vision that a couple of us had, and I really think that we didn't know where it was going to go. It's a great experiment. We didn't know it was a new structure, but definitely a highlight. Seeing that and then seeing it, we're coming up on 10 years now.
So you say that, it just seems like the other day.
Yeah.
I think one of the key things to Urban Acres and is the people. You've attracted and you have a great team. You have a great group of real estate brokers.
Yeah.
So I think that helped make it go. And I think the concept's excellent too.
Yeah.
So what about, so that's a highlight. It's a great highlight, by the way. It's been extremely successful. I can't believe it's 10 years. Talk to me about hardship. What's something that's been tough for you?
The hardship, obviously getting into real estate wasn't easy.
Right.
There was a lot of work and a lot of lack of personal time that you had to put into it.
Right.
But I think really, and it's not, I could say it's a hardship, but it really made me who I am. But, not really having much, my parents are great people, lovely people, and they've done the world for me, but it wasn't like we grew up with a lot of stuff.
You weren't entitled to anything.
No. And I had a job since I was 13.
Oh.
And so in one way or another, I was always worked throughout high school, worked throughout college. And I think that was something that really, at the time, I'm like, well, this is BS. Like, I want to go hang out with my friends after school, not go to Best Buy and work for 4 hours. But you did it. And it teaches you that anything worth it doesn't come instantly. We live in a world of instant gratification. And unfortunately, people have lost sight of going, I might not see the reward tomorrow or in a year,
Right.
but down the road, it pays off.
Cool. Great. Well, what else do you have for me regarding real estate? Anything else that you can think of for the betterment of
I think we often, view each other as competitors. And I think just in real estate in general, I think we were talking before the show, we have a great sandbox here.
Oh, yeah.
Where we have great colleagues and great people to work with. And I think that just helps the whole real estate community as a whole. Right. So I don't know. I think it's going to be a good 2025. And I look forward to working with a lot of good people this year.
If you shoot people straight and you're honest with people, there's enough for everybody.
Yeah.
And everybody has a different personality. Everybody's going to attract different kinds of people, whatnot. And that's why real estate, to me, the real estate business has been just tremendous for Becky and I.
Yeah.
It's been amazing and beyond our wildest dreams. Iowa City, Coralville, North Liberty, Tiffin, the whole Johnson County. It's just been, I can't say enough. And we're not from here. We just kind of drifted into town.
Yeah.
What are you doing over here? Well, I kind of like the Hawks, so I'll come to Iowa City.
I'm living here now.
Yeah, and kind of got in real estate at a young age, and it's just been incredible. So.
Oh, you have a great story.
Yeah, a lot of friends are in real estate. A lot of it's just been amazing for us. So.
I think a lot of times people think like, there's that old kind of saying like you got to go get your piece of the pie.
Right.
Real estate allows you to build your own pie.
Yeah. And it is your own business.
Yeah.
And it's something nobody can take away from you.
No.
So I'd highly encourage folks if they listen to this to get involved. And I appreciate what you do for the board of Realtors, and you're a great representative of our board. So
thank you, Gary.
And I appreciate all the people what they do, because that's a lot of time that goes out to that to better our community and better the real estate agents. So
we're heading to Des Moines this week for the Capitol Hill.
Make sure we keep the interest deduction.
Yeah, okay. I'll put in a plug for you.
And the other thing is make sure that Department of Economic Development with. We got to keep putting those TIFs out, keep putting that workforce housing out. All those incentives the state does tremendously help these communities. So
if we want to keep
if I was there, I should go, right?
Hey, one day. It takes you a day.
Yeah.
In and out.
Go. Well, this has been fantastic, Phil. I really appreciate your time.
This has been fun. Thanks, Gary.
And thanks for coming in, and good luck this year.
I appreciate it. Thank you.